Hello everybody, it's quite some time while I was not doing any videos, but it doesn't mean that nothing is going on. So I'm a little bit sleepy right now, but I wanted to, and sorry for the low quality videos, it's I don't have any time, but anyway, I don't have any time or studios to make quality videos. I'm just too lazy for that and I have other things to do. So that doesn't mean that the information which I would share is not quite legit, I would say. So, before we start, how did this information come to me? Through channeling, and and then it's all about how the construct of the universe, how is the mathematical universe actually made. And I will definitely make a presentation video of this, sharing and drawing examples so you can understand. But I think I can tell also several things from the perspective through speech, a perspective through speech. So the overall idea is that when you look at nature, when you look at everything that is around, people, streets, rivers, mountains, winds, birds, everything. When you look at everything what is around, you would say the nature is construct out of random. It's just a randomness that occurs. But when you look at specific things, when you look at specific details, and by the way, if you have any questions, you can write them down in comments. But if you look at specific things like rules, like the concepts that matches, or the patterns that match throughout all the universe, through the patterns, yes, good evening, the patterns that repeat everywhere. So for example, if you look at one pattern, for example, you have one pattern, like a tree root, like a tree root. It divides, and the thicker root divides into smaller roots, creating, let's say, creating like a, so to speak, a net, like a netting. So then you look at any other roots, it does the same. And then you look at the tree what's above the ground, it also goes into netting. Then when you look at how our streets made, they also divide into corners, into intersections and intersections. And then when you look at rivers, they also, rivers depend, they join up or they split up, it doesn't matter. So rivers also from time to time split up. And then you look at neurons in the brains, or in the blood arteries or the blood vessels, how they also split up into nettings. And there are also into marketing. There are only a few things that work, and one of them is multi-level marketing networks. And then when you look at friends, I don't know whether Facebook shows the network, how your friend has 30 other friends, and 30 other friends have 30 other different friends, and the connection and the network also spreads up into connections. So there are things like patterns that repeat over time or are corresponding everywhere. So then you think about something, and this was the idea that was brought forward from the channeling perspective. Although I didn't channel that like normally people do channeling, it was brought to me when I meditated and was in a little bit of a meditative state. So I just asked, can you please share me information that could be something beneficial and new for me? So, and then for the next 3 days, this information started to come. So basically, when you also look at the same like cell splitting, how the cell to cell the organism grows, and it's the same pattern. Splits up into 2, splits up into 4, split up. It's also splitting. And then the same pattern occurs, the same analogy occurs like any other pattern in life, like tree branches, rivers, and it's a mathematical pattern, but the idea, why does it happen? And this is the one of the most interesting things what I can tell how universe is precisely calculated, and I will get into deeper mathematics underneath it. This is the exactly how universe is calculated. Now, when you think about something like the balance, and the key was that universe is made to have a perfect balance of good and evil. It just depends on which perspectives, which is good, which is bad. So anyway, there is a perfect balance between good and evil. There is a perfect balance automatically between the left corners you can take divided by the right turns in a corner you can make. There is a perfect balance between how many corners a river floats to the left and how many corners the river floats to the right. It's a perfect balance. So basically the idea, what they were trying to tell to me, is that the universe is built in mathematical root, or how you call it, the absolute basis of the mathematics that is built up in this universe is set up to have a perfect balance. Now, so that means automatically balance between how high a wave in the river goes or in the sea, that much low it will go. So what goes up must come down. The higher you go, the harder you fall. The lower you are, the higher you can go. There's a perfect balance between, if imagine in a plain grass, a tree grows up. It will have a perfect balance of how many branches go to the left side, how many branches grow to the right side. When a river flows, it will have a perfect balance between left and right. It is a mathematical precision, but the most important thing, I will get to it. So also, day and night equally spread. How much days, how much daytime, how much nighttime, equally spread. So what I wanted to share about this is also the most important thing is which could bring a little bit of thinking. So you can do this test in your home, wherever you are. Do 1,000 times, split a coin 1,000 times, or 300 times, but more than 100 definitely. And then count how many times did you had where the number is on and the backside. So how many on the backside of them each? And I will tell to you, it will be the more throws you make, the closer to 50-50 it will get. The more throws you make, the closer to 50-50 it will get. Now, this brings a little bit of interest, and this brings a little bit of, this is the information which I want to tell, how does it work? This brings a little bit of interest. How the hell does it work? Because you think about normally, because I'm a programmer, I do lots of programming on computers. You think about, how can you make this? How can you make this happen? No, you rather throw a coin, now it's a random. No, it's not a random. You think about it, how it could be possible to get exactly 50-50. Make a 3,000 throws, you will get an exactly 50-50. Now, how the hell is it possible? So it brings to a conclusion that universe is not a random. Universe is absolutely, and it wants to get the closest point to balance. The closest point to balance. Now, there are a couple of drawings which I cannot show to you. The universe is built to be as much close to balance as it can be. So you will never get 1,000 in a row out of 1,000 throws. You will never get 1,000 positive throws, and you will never get 1,000 negative throws. That's not possible. I believe nobody who will do tests will not make it possible. But that's the idea how universe is specially designed to have a balance of everything, to have a complete balance of everything. And this is where the sacred universe mathematics starts occurring. Now, to me was brought, I will talk about patterns also. To me, this information was brought like our universe is made out of duality. So it's made out of two sides. So you can compare one side being female, the other side being male. But it's most important that the construct, how this universe or this universe of mathematics, the construct of it is developed. It's developed to have duality. Now, duality is the cause of everything that creates. Duality is the cause of everything that splits. Duality is the cause of even the root to grow, the tree to grow, the branches to grow. Now, this was brought in a drawing. Two magnetical fields, opposite fields, positive, negative. They interact with each other, and supposedly they are squeezing to the opposite side, so thus creating a rejection, so creating that they want to push aside from each other. At that point, where is the rejection, where the strong is intense, the strongest splitting starts to happen. Everything splits, a tree starts to grow, and once it reaches resistance, it divides into two. When a branch reaches resistance, it divides into two. The DNA structure can change how it divides from 2 to 4, or from 2 to 8, or it only splits at each 19% of its height, or it only branches. It branches much more, thus creating like a two sides spread out, like a dense bush, or it creates a one straight tree and has the DNA more strength given to this growth, and then it splits off in a percentage of much smaller branches, but it by itself is split out through this shortest way of least resistance. So it basically also is a random to each side, how it can spread out. So the universe starts creating at that point where these two dualities meet up. So how could this be interpreted into understandable ways? So this is an example of the tree, where tree starts meeting resistance. It splits up, and there's another key factor, that if the Fibonacci numbers, it's a number that doesn't divide accurately. It divides into 1, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and etc. Or the number P, which doesn't have an ending, it continues divide. So everything of the universe is made out of these numbers, so the growth and the expansion doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. So when you look at numbers, how universe is created, it's created from duality. So basically only two numbers, 0 and 1s, and they are put in a position where they split up, and constantly causing 2 more 1s, 2 more 0s. They meet again, and they divide, thus creating an infinite the division probabilities, creating an infinite division probabilities, and each of them is perfectly balanced. So it's an idea which is tough to understand without an exact drawings, but keep it simple. How could this be applied in our every day-to-day life? So when you meet a person, it is a unique, this is regarding polarity. It's not, well, you can say polarity, but it's not polarity as such. Core mathematics under the universe. So when you talk about how, and I will share much more details. Just wait for them. When you talk about and how it merges one another, like we are here. So you meet a person, I meet a person. When we meet together, a new possibilities arise. One has the idea to go and do fishing, other has the idea to go and do jogging or running or drive somewhere. and multiple ideas of possibilities and opportunities start arising. One says this, other applies this, and multiple ways of expression starts arising. And when those expressions meet up, they, for example, create the children, or they meet other friends, and then another deviation of the deviation of new opportunities arise. New ideas are born. And when we have now also, let's compare it to technologies, how many we have, how many different lifestyles we have, how many cultures live here, how many everything of differences we have. It creates, so for example, ideas meet up, they create and spread, like spread into multiple verses, multiple universes, they spread up, and then each of these universes starts its own root, its own seed, and it splits up. For example, many people join now this idea of computers and technology. It's something new, it is something mind-blowing, and thousands of people dive into it, and thousands of people more will be born because they also want to dive into it. Souls dive into it, and they create a new netting, a new ways of opportunities, a new routings and nettings and opportunities that spread out. And this process is unstoppable. The evolution will never end, because the basic core of mathematics, when you look at basic core of the mathematics, it's the Fibonacci numbers that will never stop. It will never find an ending. It will never find a conclusion. It will never find a perfect deviation, dividance. When you divide something, it'll be always 1, 3, 3, 3, 3. So the smart universal mathematics, new variations occur. Always a new branch grows out. Always a new opportunity happens. It's the way of, it's like it will be, universe will be infinitely spreading. It will be infinitely. There's internet failures. I'm driving, in zones where there's internet. So regardless of any other things we know about any other things, knowing just this mathematical precision, you can predict and you can understand the core issue of the universe itself. So first thing of the universe is that you take any human being, you take any flower, one flower spreads into several other flowers, several other roots. Humans, one family, some bad internet. You take a rock, you smash it. So we're back. Universe construct, or the vain universe mathematical idea itself is visible in our reality. So to my father about this, and I was telling him, but it's something. For example, we will look into atoms itself as such also, but it's something as, some people, and the cigarette will be smoking, and everything of it will split into atoms, and it will split itself, then split and split and split, and thus it will never come back to the original state as it was, as it was. So a tree, when it grows, it splits and splits and splits, and then when it dies, it splits, it falls down, and then through time it splits into atoms, into atoms, into atoms, and it becomes soil. So everything of that nature is to create a smaller, one more reality. When a tree dies, it creates soil, and then but the idea of it. And when you, for example, there was another case my father told when he saw in this same thing in the movie he saw. Then when you mix together two chemicals, or a porridge with the porridge sauce, or ketchup with something else, you will never get it back. So this is the same principles. They happen over and over. They are visible many times. But we will think about two other things. Is as the being said, the water is a magical component. It merges back everything as one piece. So so these are the main ideas. Now, and there are also patterns that respect or reflect the balance, such as the higher one goes, the lower it will fall. The lower one is thinking, man, but this could, and actual gravity is the construct higher and much lower. And to keep it simple, it's also a wave. So the higher one talk about waves and talk about how it's balanced and talk about the same coin flipping. Now, there was a calculation, I believe, and it's also calculated to reflect the balance of the universe. So it is calculatable. So, and if you make 1,000 flips of the coin, you will get well, I don't remember whether it was 3,000 flips or 1,000 flips, but it doesn't matter. There is a calculation how many times you will have 2 in a row positives. It's a calculation. It was 1/4 of the throws, and you will have exactly the same negative flips. And how many times you had 3 in a row, positives and negatives, it will be 1/8. When you do 1,000 flips, it will have, I believe it was 16 positive throws in a row and 16 negative throws in a row. So into numbers, when we are talking about, it reflects the overall idea, and you can calculate this. So what I'm trying to tell to you is that universe itself follows a perfect mathematics of perfect balance and harmony. So this is the principle why and how the universe was built, to create a perfect balance, and it's supposed to be like this, and it will be always like this. Not that everywhere will be only one of the kinds, only destruction, everything occurs. Always there will be a creation, and creation will always have place. So it's the root of it is to how the universe is constructed is to create a balance. Now then, when you know these mathematical principles of how the universe is built, and I'm really sorry that I cannot give you drawing sketches, I will make them in a less presentation. It took me only 2 months to grasp this information into words that I can a little bit describe. But you can put this everything into mathematical formulas of how you can calculate your life. Now, in these perceptions, in these concepts, how you can apply it to be more beneficial for you to have a balance in your life, as I was telling into many other videos, is you will have an equally positive things occurring in your life and equally the same amount of negative things occurring in your life. There will be always somebody that you like, and there will always be somebody that doesn't like you. So, and there will be always where you arrived and really happy to see you and really happy to talk to you. So what I'm trying to tell you is that you don't need to focus on the negative things in your life. You don't need to do that, because there will be an equal spread of both of them. So what you can do is focus on the things that you desire, focus on the things that are positive for you, focus on those things. And so this is the most common and most simple thing, that calculating all of this, that knowing all of this, you and myself, I get into a peace state that I'm truly aware of, that you don't actually need to worry about those bad things. You don't need to worry about those, let's say, quote unquote, negative things. And those good and negative things are only your perspective. You need to just understand that this is the period that I'm going through. And what you can do is go through with absolute positiveness what is inside of you, and be more aware and be aware of those other things that are positive and stay with them and be with them. So understanding this, it brings so much peace. So whether you go to a place and you don't know whether you will succeed or not succeed, don't even think about this. Go to a place and understand that if you go to, let's say, 20 or 30 places, you have a so high chance that you will succeed. But if you go and you fail 1 time or 2 times, you can destroy yourself emotionally with depression and something, I never succeed and everything. It's just pointless. Just pointless for you to think this way. Just, okay, I succeeded now, that's good. It just plays out through mathematics that it's good. You will always succeed sooner or later. You just have to do it. And you just have to try it. You just have to do it and try it. So another thing, talking about lotteries, I talked to one friend, and there are some lotteries when you win and then you need to call somebody. I said you have twice as greater chance of success if you use 2 mobiles to call the same number to apply for this lottery. You know, when you have this number in your ticket, for example, bingo, you need to call them and then you need to tell them I want to apply for this free spaces on the live event on television to get the benefits more. I said you have twice as more chance if you call from 2 numbers, four more times chance if you call from 4 numbers, telephone numbers. So you just think about it. How can you increase your success rates through whatever the things you are doing in your life? How can you increase your score? You have to try it more. You have to do it more to be in a more closer state of success. So when you talk about this, then you think, okay, how can I attain more success in, for example, whatever products you are selling, whatever you are doing, is to get more opportunities or get more audience. Because when the largest audience you have, the more there is a chance for you to sell something. And it goes out through any description. It's just the chances of probability. Everything is divided into probability. So it's the same overall purpose of the tree, how the tree grows. It has to spread out into 2 or 3 branches. And those 2, 3 or 4 branches, well, thinking about if the tree is looking for success of getting more sunlight, that out of those 5 branches, 3 will maybe be left into 2 that have more sunlight. So thus mathematical conclusion is to spread more in these branches, and they spread more, and thus they have a much higher chance of attaining sunlight. So it doesn't mean that trees grow only on one side. Trees grow on both sides, because there is also a chance that some sunlight goes through completely to the tree, and on the other side, opposite side, tree grows something like this to get more sunlight. So when you talk about this simple mathematics, it's already built inside the DNA. It's already built inside. So when you construct something, when you build something, you never know. You never know how it will grow. You never know where will be the most sunlight, because, you know, trees are planted millions of places on Earth. Behind mountains, in front mountains, it's high above, way below, in shadows, out of shadows. They grow everywhere. So the only way how you can make a species or a tree that will grow everywhere and anywhere is that tree needs to follow the patterns, the same patterns as how the universe is built. And those patterns are: the tree needs to grow, the tree needs sunlight where it could grow, and the tree needs to follow these patterns. Spread up, split, split, split. Where the most success, where the most sunlight is, concentrate more energy there. Split up, split up, split up, split up. and 3 other small branches and leaves spread out to, let's say, a radius of 360 degrees, and one of them get more sunlight, so spread up more there, and one of here gets more sunlight, so split up more branches and leaves there. So it's a simple and a mathematical strategy that a simple and a mathematical DNA code brings out, and it works because it's a completely simple strategy. So an overall conclusion in your life, use the same patterns of nature, use the same patterns of probability, use it the same, because they will bring you success. Try 100 times, 20 of them are more beneficial. Try those 20 in different variations and different sides and different corners. Try them more. So the overall conclusion is that this is the most simplest way of describing, seeing the overall and the main construct of the universe, how it's actually created and how it works. And because it only works, and it spreads and it will grow into different variations because of the duality, the opposite fields, they create spreads and nettings of new opportunities. So now talking about how the planet itself and the construct itself, how can we create future virtual realities? Now this is the main thing which I wanted to talk about with you, and this is the thing which I'm thinking, how could one make something like this? And this is the key point which I wanted to tell in this video. I will stop somewhere just so that I can describe it a little bit better. Let's make so the universe is built out of these theories. It's a DNA code, it's a seed that has the algorithm of splitting in certain ways. And I even made a program that uses simple calculations, and it draws an identical flower that we can see in our lifetimes. So it's the mathematics. Whenever you're on internet, you can find fractal tree. You will find that there are people that use computer programs with simple and very simple mathematics, and they create a tree that looks so real to life that you cannot tell whether it's a computer program or something real. So, or whether it's something designed. A computer program, no, it looks so real that you cannot tell whether it's artificially designed. So, and the most shocking event for me was that fractals are also used, this is the mathematics, the fractals are also used in movies to create planets. They don't design planets, they just put in mathematics, and the planet is designed. It just chooses by itself. So, and there's another thing about virtual realities, how actually what's going on here? How actually the construct of universe is so mathematical that it doesn't even require to need a space to occupy itself. So it can be done only with a matrix. I'll talk about this a little bit more. The second thing is time, and the third thing is where you are, is your location from where this reality. So, and there could be also different concepts like the angle from where you are looking, like when you're looking left or right. So it turns out to me, when understanding this, that universe itself is illusionary. It creates the illusion of time and space, and the illusion of happening is created from this mathematical simple formula that I wanted to share. So how is growth or expansion or evolution created? It's the same. For example, let's take a planet, a seed. It's a DNA code that is inputted somewhere, and it's inputted somewhere of path of least resistance. So I talk about torsion fields in a different video. So the torsion field center is the path of least resistance. So an input of DNA code is inputted there. So a DNA code consists of something. It's really simple. It's really simple. It's nothing difficult, but it will be for me difficult to explain to you. But it's basically three components. One is energy, which is basically the multiplying strength. Second is the splitting angles, how many angles and to how many angles and to how many sides the code will split, and it's the uh, proportion of the height against the split. So each whether it splits at 1/10 of the height or whether it splits at 9/10 of the height. So whether it splits at 90% of the height or 10% of the height. So it's just the proportion, nothing else but the proportion. So these are the three simple things. The next thing is what happens of each of the next splitting levels. So branches split up, and then created on every fifth split a new DNA code is inputted, like the code that creates a leaf. So it's really simple. It's nothing difficult. It's really simple. And the leaf consists of these three parameters only in different variations, and then it creates something different. So it's actually really simple. Now, when you think about this as a mathematical precision, how can you make a planet? Well, a planet consists also of the same seed information, and let's say a small planet is born. It's created as in the matrix as a mathematical seed. Nothing happens, just a planet stands there. So the next thing is the universe apply itself. How can we create a virtual reality? This is what I'm talking about. So the next thing, what applies to it is time. And time is only a multiplication, multiplying step. So a time is basically the multiplying step. So you create a seed, and then you take multiply it with itself one more time. Seed grows a little bit. Multiply it with itself one more time. Seed grows a little bit. And whether it's a tree or something else, it has a random access to energy. Whether the soil is wet or dry, it has a random access to energy. So multiply it and multiply it with energy. It grows faster, it grows slower. So nothing difficult, everything is very simple. So the multiplying part is also very simple. You don't need to think about this much. How is it possible? It's simple. It's really simple. So you multiply it, and the planet grows. And multiply it. So the planet grows. And then when the amplification level occurs, the planet splits. Huge rock splits into smaller rocks, smaller water shreds, then the rocks split into dust split into soil, and soil splits into dust. It's the opposite, but anyway. And then a new implant of new seeds split up also from the variations of the combinations that are there, or somebody else puts in those seeds. So it's the matrix of the planet is set up, and then it's multiplied. When it reaches a certain multiplication level, it starts growing seeds as grass, as flowers, and everything. It starts then growing to a certain level. It's multiplied. A planet is bigger, and it is the planet is bigger and bigger, and trees grow, and it's multiplied. The trees grow faster and faster, and it creates so many variations now that can interact with each other. A tree grows there, winds, waters, weather is a new variation that is created out there, and thus variation affects everything else, and that everything else changes the energy, what is also a variable in this multiplication. So basically what I'm trying to tell, the more at each step when a variation is created, more variations are born. More variations are born. More random is born, and more random is born. That's why universe is so interesting, because every time something new can happen out of that random. So it's not only that universe is made with balance. Universe is made itself that it will have constantly and constantly new things, new opportunities, new variations, new unimaginable things that can occur in this universe. So it's a never ending unfoldment of new possibilities, how everything can interact and how everything can happen. So this is the another, let's say, built-in law or built-in thing, or a built-in thing that the universe has through this simple duality mathematics. So everything is changing, and every time there will be something new occurring, a new idea, from everything something new. So now, and in this reality, you have a signature. Where is your location? Where are you? From which angle and from which place you are viewing this matrix, and in which time zone you are. So how can we create a virtual reality? You have a matrix, you have a position, and you have a time. So universe is a matrix, and you apply time to it. Let's say you want to go to 1,000 years in the front. You change in a virtual reality, in a virtual game. This would be such an interesting game. I guarantee that so many people will live inside this game. You go into 3,500 years in the future. You just add those years into the time. And what happens? The universe takes this matrix, amplifies it 3,500 times, and the variations, universe is there. And you input your location, where you are in your matrix, in your location, and you are there, and everything is happening in slow time frames. Like, let's say, second and second, everything is amplified and multiplied for every second and second. And you are like experiencing this in such a, wow, I'm getting older, my body cells are amplified, multiplied every second and every second and every second time frame. I don't know the minimum time frame of the universe, but it doesn't matter. Everybody lives in a different time scale and time frame. And then you call your friend, your buddy, which is maybe 5,000 in the future, and he said, hey, did you see this location? I sent him coordinates and time zone. He says, no, that's, to me, it looks like exactly like the world of Enrico, from the place of living light. And there, do you see it? He says, no, come here. And he comes and appears in your reality. And it's like, this is so amazing. There is so many things to discover in this matrix, because nobody knows and can predict where it goes. But it's such an interesting way how the universe unfolds in this mathematics. It's such an interesting way. So how can you create this game? You create just a simple seeds, DNA codes that you amplify. And those seeds you populate in a certain level with more seeds, with more DNAs like trees and everything that have some rules on which scale they work. And then you don't need to have all this memory of how does it look there, how did it look there. You don't need to actually create a game. You don't need to design anything. You just input these formulas, and when a player joins a game, you just give him the date and location where you want to be and which matrix you want to be. And this also definitely applies to that. This significance definitely applies that we are living in 1,000 and millions and zillions of parallel universes that are there, and we are experiencing the universe which for us is most relevant, which we have chosen to come here. So this brings up that, to me, it brings up two sides from the universe duality points. And this was brought to me like 4 years ago in one channeling, but I didn't understand that information at that point. The more into the matrix, the more we are following the rules of the matrix, the evolution process of the matrix. This is the one duality side, which is construct, which is without any ability to change it. It's like the rational mind, it's like the logistic mind, the logical mind, it's like the I need to do and that will happen. So it's the way of construct, it's the way of how the roots and everything spread, it's the way of mathematical logic. And the opposite side is everything that is out of any shape or form. It's the divinity, it's the inner peace, it's the light energy, let's say. And these are the two opposite polarities. It's like left side and the right side. It's like the female and the male energy. These are two opposites. So these are the two opposite scales, both of them spread out into infinitely. So less form, less construct is in the light, more form, more constructs, more details, more variations, and more stiffer everything gets in the lower part of this energy. So when they meet, movement, spreadment, and growth start to happen. So these are the main principles and constructs of these universal mathematics, and to me it points out, that without any shadow of doubt, we come from the true source, which is the true living energy. We come inside this reality to only experience the game itself, to only experience the variations, the unpredictingness itself, the ever unfolding and never ending evolution process itself. So some UFOs or some gods or whatever created this reality. So I'm about to finish it, and there is one of my friends are driving here. So, and there is a really strange feeling about this, and that it makes a complete understanding that we just came here to experience, nothing else but experience. And it points out that it can be easily understand that we come from somewhere else to join this experience. So I think like Einstein, the Albert Einstein, other mathematicals that were genius, they got to the same point of it developed also mathematics to predict, and they could calculate everything, not like calculate everything, but they could get to a point where they understand that, hey, this is just a game. And what to us seemed natural is actually a very simple mathematical game, a very simple, ever unfolding mathematical game that doesn't occupy space and doesn't occupy memory. And it's just mathematics. It's just mathematics. And this is really interesting. This is really interesting. This is so interesting. This is I'm with this idea, and so these are the things that will not change. And what you can do is you can create mathematical models for yourself, like how can you benefit more in your life from this? How can you attain more success in your life of this? So anyway, there were some questions. So whether I had some information about planet Nibiru and its effect to planet Earth. No information except that people like to worry about several things. Okay, so 3 viewers, 3 likes, 100% success ratio, and I think I need to go now. If you have any questions, write in, and I can answer them if I can. I will answer if I can. And it's already late here, I must go. So if no questions, I will wait for a minute because the video is delaying for a minute. All right, so any more questions? Nobody. I said nobody. Have the absolute best what this virtual simulation is offering to you, and enjoy.